VMI with a 1-0 lead going into the bottom of the second. In John Sheff's first year, it has been a little bit of a struggle, as expected, trying to rebuild a program at a team that sits last in the Coastal Division. John, they're just trying to find something of potential moving into next year.
Yeah, and I think they've already found that in the way that he has instilled in this ball club to play, because what you don't see in the wins and losses and in a precarious spot in terms of making or not making the ACC tournament is the competitive nature by which this ball club has played night in, night out, particularly in the ACC. You know, they have a high number of one-run losses, 12, I believe, and they are certainly not getting blown off the diamond. You got to get some more arms in here, obviously, and that's priority one on the recruiting trail, and when you do, I think this will be the beginning of big things for this baseball town.
Ewald going back to slider for strike two on Nick Owens. The next pitch goes outside to even the count.
Ewald's in a nice rhythm, and for the Hokies, with a guy that struggled as mightily as Ewald has pretty universally across his outings, you've just got to get him uncomfortable, and it probably would not take that much because he doesn't have that level of confidence. His results certainly wouldn't belie that.
Rather, there's strike two. Now the count evens at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, John Sheff looking on after some years at Maryland, trying to make something of this Virginia Tech Hokies roster.
Yep, you build it piece by piece, player by player, visit by visit. And certainly I think Coach Sheff is excited about who he has coming in next year, some of the younger players here. And it's also a credit to some of the older guys on this roster that they've bought in, even though for a Sam Fragale, it's his last go-around in Blacksburg, and mentored the younger players in this new philosophy, because I think the players that were left were ready for it too.
A full count pitch over to first. Close play. Doesn't get the foot on it. So Owens legs out an infield single. And the Hokies have a man on to start out the bottom of the second.
Yeah, it's difficult to pin this on the first baseman, Jake Huggins, because this is an instinctual play to go get the baseball. But you've got to recognize there that you're in no man's land. You're out of the play. That needs to be let go to the second baseman, Callan Nuccio. And if you do that, you have an opportunity for the pitcher to cover, although you see there that the pitcher, Ewald, was late to get over. So the first baseman shouldn't have grabbed it, but even if he hadn't, it would have been a base hit.
Hokies once again operating with a man on, and here comes Fernandez. So the freshman from Miami, Florida, will get a swing at it here. Called a strike. Fernandez brought into the lineup after the injury of J.D. Mundy that moved Fragale over to first base. And now Fernandez starts at third.
You've got Eaton all the way up on the grass at third. I can't imagine Virginia Tech wanting to bunt in this situation with Fernandez, who's been swinging it well.
Into right, base hit. Owen stretching for 3. Off target throw, but Ewald able to back it up, and the Hokies have runners on the corners.
Yeah, good backup there from the pitcher, Ewald. Ill-advised throw from right field, but going back as to why you don't bunt there, you've got a guy in Ewald that has allowed a .431 opposition batting average. You're down a run in a game you figure, again, is not probably going to be a 7-8 inning starting pitching duel. So you want to play for the big inning and make him uncomfortable when you have somebody on, and Michael Fernandez plays those odds for Coach Sheff and rewards that faith.
Well, Nuccio was ready for a double play, so for Fernandez, just putting it where the second baseman wasn't, and Owens able to slide in safely to third. Now here's Stevie Mangrum. Potential tying run right there in Owens. Gets through the catcher, and the game is tied. So a low pitch from Ewald, and now we're all knotted up 1-1.
Yeah, see, again, when you have a pitcher like Ewald, he doesn't have recent memory of confidence. So in the early going, he's getting some outs. He's trying to build that. And the Owens infield single, although it seems innocent enough, can be enough to get a guy back off track. And then you start to see pressing, and you start to see pitches like that.
So Maddox couldn't keep it in front. Now runner in at second in Fernandez. Saw Mangrum hit a huge home run a few nights ago against Duke. He's been stepping up for the Hokies in the last 10 games. He's been hitting .323.
And they need him. Again, this is a lineup that is missing a number of its usual stalwarts, and you need a guy like Stevie Mangrum to deliver when that's the case, and he certainly has responded.
Low for ball 2. Hernandez able to get into scoring position after that low one from Ewald. Swing and a miss. Well, that shadow really is something, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a difficult time to pick up the baseball for the hitter, and this is why you look for your pitchers to attack. Ewald essentially there, though, threw a pitch that he got away with. It looked like a good pitch, but he actually missed his target by quite a good distance. It went from bad to great because of where it wound up.
Ewald deals. Poked into center. Easy catch for Malbin. First out, and there's Andrew Webb coming up to the plate.
Going back to that shadow, you'll see a lot of these lunging swings. That was a good pitch from Ewald there to get him off balance, but we go back to the top of this inning. The double play ball was the same thing, and when you're lunging and you're diving, that's generally because you're not picking the baseball up very well out of the pitcher's hand, and that has everything to do right now with where those shadows are. And it's interesting when you start games at different times, see that shadow. By the time we get to 7 o'clock, that shadow will already be over the mound. So if you start at 7, then you don't have to deal with that as a hitter the first couple of innings. And you can use some of those things to your advantage depending on your personnel going forward.
That shadow a result of the new renovations here at English Field at Union Park, a brand new press box and grandstand. And it does affect how the game is played in these mid-afternoon games. And Webb fouls it back. So for the catcher, he's trying to find his first hit of the season, the sophomore from Manassas, Virginia. Only the third catcher in the dugout for Virginia Tech. Behind Haransky as well as Joe Friday Jr. Quickly down 0-2.
Yeah, and it's a lot to ask. A guy that's had 7 at-bats all season long to come in, face live pitching in a game. It's just really difficult to simulate that even in batting practice or over in the hitting center when you're getting reps throughout the course of the week. It's just night and day in terms of what you see, and it takes you a lot of at-bats, quite frankly, to get that timing.
Webb, a preferred walk-on that came on with Pat Mason last year, and now a timeout called by Maddox.
Yeah, great guy, great team guy. You know, he definitely recognizes his role on this team as kind of a bullpen catcher, a guy that mentors the pitchers, a guy that works through some of those sessions, takes his opportunities like this and comes up and competes. And every team, regardless of what sport it is, absolutely has to have those personalities, and he's a perfect fit for that.
After the quick little chat, Ewald's just about ready to go. Still just trying to fight through this here. Already has 1 out. Already going a little bit better than his last outing against Furman. Gave up 4 earned runs in 2 1/3, but the Hokies trying to equalize that. And Webb stays alive.
Yeah, and I think that visit from catcher Peyton Maddox was just a reminder, hey, this is where we're at. This was a late guy inserted into the lineup, and you get the stat sheet too. You can see that he doesn't have more than a handful of bats on the season. Let's come right after him and try to locate some fastballs.
So Webb trying to find his first hit on the season. Possibly give the Hokies the lead. Takes a ball.
See, another fastball. And you saw Peyton Maddox jump outside, but if you're earlier in the order, that's probably a slider you're trying to bury there. But again, it's not a lack of respect. It's just acknowledging the fact that, like we were talking about, they recognize this can't be a guy that has great timing because he just does not have that wealth of at-bats this year.
Serves it into left center, a base hit. Fernandez on to home, and the Hokies take the lead. First hit of the season for Andrew Webb, and now it's 2-1 Virginia Tech.
Peel back the layers of that onion and go back to what I said the pitch prior. The reason you're throwing fastballs to a guy that doesn't necessarily have the timing is because he has to speed up to get his bat to the zone. What just occurred there was he essentially threw a slider to a guy that at this point has a slider speed bat and also hung it in the zone. So he got beat not with his best pitch because he wasn't able to throw his best pitch 2 in a row, and that's just the lack of confidence that comes with inexperience.
All right, the Hokies jumping on top in the bottom of the second. All smiles for Andrew Webb at first base.
Yeah, and for Andrew Webb, that feels great. And again, he's a guy with ability. If you give him at-bats, he can definitely do those things. But it was a good take to get to that breaking ball in the first place. Then when he did, he put it in play and made something happen.
I was just looking at that wrist coach, making sure he's got the signs right. Unfamiliar trip to first base.
Yeah, he's asking over there if the color scheme changes when you get on base.
JoJo Odachowski fouls it straight back. Hard clonk off of the sweet windows.
Nice catch apparently down in the grandstand. Starting to get better at the ballpark pinball off these angles.
Yeah, we were talking about it off the air. It seems like these fans have a certain tardiness about them, but they're starting to file into this brand new grandstand at English Field.
Yeah, it's all that traffic.
The new roundabouts.
405 can get dicey along with the PCH.
Not exactly California and Southwest Virginia. Counted 1-1. Odachowski getting the start at second base today after the illness caused Jack Owens to miss out on this midweek contest. Just a freshman from Alpharetta, Georgia. Webb going. That one's popped up into right, caught by Pita. The Hokies trying to be aggressive on the base paths early with a hit and run, and Odachowski can't convert.
Like to see it. Coach Sheff trying to instill some confidence. Younger player who struggled. Going to have to get some at-bats here with some of your other regulars on the shelf. Why not get him going? See if he can't make something happen with the bat.
Back to the top of the lineup for Virginia Tech. Here's Tom Stoffel. Grounded out to second to start out the bottom of the first last time. A fastball low. Webb still looking at that wrist, coach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it says. Stay right here.
And that's something in the game that's relatively new as far as baseball signage is with those wrist coaches. That's not something you saw 20 years ago.
It's not something you saw 2 years ago.
And Kurt Elvin still looking at his own over at third base. Hitting coach and the third base coach for Virginia Tech. There's the first strike.
Yeah, I was joking about Webb. Stay right here. You look at that wrist coach. Not a bad time to start him, though, to be quite honest. Right here, you imagine you're going to get a fastball. If you're Stoffel, who's one hit away from 200 in his career, he can certainly make contact. Webb gets thrown out on the base paths on a swing and a miss by Stoffel, which is the only way you leave him unprotected. So be it. Start at the top of the order in the third. There's the fastball.
Well, Webb stays put. Right back to the fastball for Ewald, and the count evens. So VMI hoping they can get at least 3 innings out of their freshman pitcher. A game that will likely see a ton of characters on the mound. Another chopper. Tagged by Huggins, and the inning is over. Hokies scored 2, though, and it is 2-1 as VMI comes right back up to bat to start out the third inning here on ACC Network Extra.